Thank you for joining Spirit Baby Radio with your host, me, Kelly Meehan. Please join my community and stay in touch with monthly energy rants, Spirit Baby poetry, and get access to Spirit Baby 101 with tips and practices at my newsletter at newearthchildren.com. And join me on Instagram with lives at Spirit Baby Medium, and join the Mighty Networks, the Spirit Baby Collective membership, and Motherhood to Mediumship. Remember, you are the heart that holds communication, and it is your time to connect. Come share in the great shift of your mind and the true spirit of your heart with Spirit Baby Communication. Welcome to episode 248, June 2026, Pregnancy Release, Compassionate Conversations Using Spirit Baby Communication. How do you allow healing after pregnancy release, whether for personal or medical reasons? What can you do to fully support yourself emotionally, mentally, and spiritually? Do you know about Spirit Baby communication practices after specific loss like this? I have a special guest episode, Sofia.
Hello.
And as everybody knows with Spirit Baby Radio, it's like, how do I meet these people? How do they come? And we kind of go up far back a little bit here
Mm.
through her own practices coming into Spirit Baby Academy, but she was already gifted before in the Spirit Baby communication spaces. And we've just learned a lot about each other over these years, maybe. Is it years at this point?
Yeah, it was some years.
And I really, I'll add this too. Sophia, when I had tragedy in my life, I picked her and another Spirit Baby student, alumni, to step in for me, which is a really big deal. Like I do not just go, hey, don't, and so I called her in. I'm just remembering that to like when I had to move and my dad died, and if somebody needed support, I was like, here's these two, you and someone else was like, of course I'm like trusting them to trust themselves, but yeah, she was one of my kind of I don't know what you would call that. Um
No, I don't
What's the
know that
word for
word.
that? Not backup. Well, kind of like a backup. Yeah, it could be a
Could be,
backup.
yeah.
Though we do
Stand
things
in.
very differently, but you're very skilled for sure.
Thank you, Kelly.
Yeah, and I'm gonna read her bio here. And say your last name again. Sofia
Ataya.
Ataya is a conscious conception mentor, trauma-informed therapist, specialized in early attachment and development psychology, energy healing, and channel. At 19, she was told there was a 95% chance she would never conceive naturally. Yet 10 years later, it was the soul of her daughter that led her beyond those limitations and into a completely different understanding of life, healing, and creation itself. What began as a deeply personal journey became an initiation into Spirit Baby communication, embodiment, conscious conception, and a living relationship with the Divine Mother. Today, Sophia supports women, couples, families through conception, pregnancy, miscarriage, abortion, and the profound soul journeys that accompany bringing life into the world. Her work weaves together trauma informed healing, somatic wisdom, intuitive guidance, and a deep trust in the intelligence of the soul. She believes that children arriving today are not only changing families, they're helping birth a new humanity.
Mm.
I know, it's so beautiful. Thank you for being here. Now I have a lot of different questions for sure, because I'm like, we're going to go back in time because we want to know what you were told and what happened. And just so everybody knows, pregnancy release, because of censorship, I'm pregnancy release. We're going to use this term, but it stands for abortion and termination. And we're going to go into this conversation more deeper, but also any other spirit baby connections. So tell us what was told to you, and then how you became like spirit babies are talking to you. Like, how did that unfold too at the same
Mm.
time?
Yeah, thank you, Kelly. Yeah, like actually, since I was a child, I always had the feeling that I have children all around me, like in spirit form. So I sensed that pure energy of baby beings or baby spirits in the energy field around me, and also the very the very subtle and innocent energy like fairies and nature energy. And so I was already like so much in that energy as a child. And then in my teenage years I went through a really rough period also. Yeah, psychology wise, and I was really in a deep dive with myself. And in that period, I felt there was such a strong calling to rise towards the consciousness of the Divine Mother and the Christ consciousness. And I was not religious at all, but I felt that opening of that loving energy. And I think I felt it was a combination of that connection to the very innocent, pure spirits from childhood. And in my teenage year, that Christ energy that came into my field, that really was an initiation into opening up for my, yeah, abilities or my intuitive gift or the way I work today, because it's mainly these two energies that are so yeah, so present in my work. It's the energy of the spirit babies and the energy of the Divine Mother, and these two
Mm.
they show me the way into conscious conception, how we are supposed to, or the way we are guided to conceive right now in the time that we are going into. So it's really like it's just developing over time. And then you're asked for, yeah, how it was for me in that time when I was 19. I like the when I started having my menstrual cycle, it was really intense, and the doctor told me to go on the pill, the birth control pill. So I went on the birth control pill, and I was on that birth control pill for a few years. And then I went to the doctors because I had so much pain.
Mm.
And then I was told that I had cyst on my ovaries, and I had PCOS, and I have endometriosis, and
Wow.
my ovaries were not producing eggs. And like I remember that I so clearly remember it. And she said to
Mm.
me like Sophia, you will probably never be able to conceive naturally, and I just wanted you to know it now, because if you want a child in the future, you just have to be aware of this is like the state of your body, right? So she said 95% you will probably not be able to conceive naturally. That will be a miracle if that will be a possibility for you.
Wow.
So
Mm.
yeah, that was like imagine telling a 19-year-old teenager that,
Yeah.
what
And
you
that's a
don't
lot you have going on in your womb space. That's a lot of stuff
that was a
happening.
lot. That was a
What
lot.
do
And I
you
didn't
feel
even
that there's a reason for that, or you're just not sure? Do you think it was the birth control? Was that your lifestyle? What do you feel?
feel actually there was several reasons why I have to go through this. What I realized on my whole conception journey, maybe I can share a bit about that. When I felt my daughter coming into my space, for me, I always call it like an energetic conception. I'm feeling how they like I'm like energetically pregnant. She coming into my space, and she's really started to guiding me. And that was around 7 months before she was conceived, and I got physically pregnant with her. Then I felt her in my space, and I actually felt her in my whole body, and I felt that she was talking to me through the cells of my body and through my bones and through my blood, and she was guiding me through such a deep detoxification of my whole system. And she was also guiding me through different kind of practitioners and specialists that could help me with that, to help me really to clear and cleanse my body, and also to dive deeper into my womb space, both physically but also energetically, and to really dare to go there and dare to feel what it was about.
Mm,
um,
hmm.
and then in that period, I realized, and I found out that I actually really literally had like an energetic blockage. It feels like a block, like a wall,
Hmm.
just below my navel. That was just so hard and so intense, and I was really holding on so much. So I realized afterwards, and that's also what I see sometimes in clients that have a lot of issues on their whole, reproductive systems. And I see there's such a fine line and such a strong link towards control. Uh, Both basically control and anxiety and not really being here or not really want to be here. and
Yeah,
not
and that's
really
such a big
anchored,
deal. Like you're talking
right?
about like these clinical disorders of endo and then ovarian stuff. It's like all that energy there, the tightness, the block, as you're saying. To me, it's kind of like, I wonder if there's like a lineage or a family, or maybe you don't really know, but it's like you knew how to then, okay, there's something deep here that needs to
Yeah.
be cleared. And then I always feel like all these disorders, I'm starting to literally like a week ago, I was like, I feel like they're trauma disorders, to be honest, like all these different body elements that, because our bodies are super intelligent. And I do feel like our bodies want to support us, right, with our divinity. But it's like we all get into these spaces. So were you shocked when you were pregnant then? Was it like, what was that feeling but you felt it before. So
Yeah, I was
how do you,
really on a
yeah.
journey. I was really on a journey, and I feel I just want to respond to what you just shared about the trauma and the lineage and the way I see it now, and I really see energy, and I have all my life seen energy, both from my inner eyes and from my outer eye. But the way I see it is really that is either it's something lineage, or it can be an entity, or it can be
Mm,
like fear or control that comes from trauma. That's actually it's really literally blocking your life force energy, like your creation energy. This is the physical manifestation of your creation. It's your womb space. And if there is anything related there, it's suppressing your creation. So of course you're becoming more and more infertile because you are blocked on your connection to your creation,
yeah.
the way you create. So yeah, if I was shocked when I got pregnant, I think I have worked so much towards it, so I felt it became closer and closer, but I have worked towards it without really forcing myself. It was really the
Mm.
guidance of her, and I just allowed it and I just opened up for it. So I actually conceived right after my first menstruation, my first bleed in 10 years. Yeah.
Wow. Fascinating.
Yeah.
What does that mean? Tell us, like, what is this?
I feel it was just a journey I needed to go through. Like she initiated in me so deeply into allowing myself to be guided.
Wow. And
And
that's a
I
hard one,
didn't.
right? I mean, were there days probably where you were like not sure? What was that like? Like, did you feel like, or did you just keep feeling like I'm going forward?
Yeah, I felt it was a part of my own mm, spiritual awakening, or my own
Yeah.
pathway of healing, because it went so deep. And of course it also reflect the way I work with women right now.
Yeah.
It's not only bringing a child into this life, it's not only birthing a child, it's like literally birthing yourself. It's like super
Wow.
devoted and committed work we are doing if we are committing ourselves to go and walk this pathway consciously. This is gonna change you completely, and I felt it changed me completely.
I love how you just said that. I think that's the whole receiving ourselves first, the devotion you just said. It's like
Mm,
the devotion to yourself to know that there was something there. And I just want to share a little similar is when I was in my late 20s, I felt like I got really sick with autoimmune stuff for a good I started at 15 years old, and then at 25, it was more like deeper diagnosis. I was still like not well. And I thought actually was like, I'm just not gonna have children because I was on the sick journey. And it took me a long time, probably like 10 years to be honest.
mm,
And I got to this level where I felt like, am I ready to receive my children? And I think, this is why I don't think age is such a big deal, is like what we're detoxing physically, emotionally, and spiritually.
mhm,
And I know when people tune into this, they're going to be like, well, Kelly, like, come on. But I was like, hey, like, there's an awakening, there's a journey that sometimes it's not just a year or 2 years or 3 years. So I've actually worked with people that have gone on a 10-year journey. And I always wonder, this is interesting. What if I tried to conceive in my 20s? Would it even happen? We'll
mhm,
never know. And why I don't believe age is the biggest issue is like health and wellness and knowing the timing of energy of receiving. So I want to hear, I love how you speak. You're very poetic, by the way. I feel like a lot of your
Thank
words, I'm
you.
like, there's poetry right there. Um, pregnancy release. I want to kind of shift into that a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember when we were like meeting and connecting and the mentorship and the space that you were wanting to be a good resource for that. And I thought that's amazing because sometimes I don't have space for that. And I'm going, who are the people that can really open their hearts for that? Because with pregnancy release, we know it's layered in a lot of stuff, right? And what can you say about that from your own perspective and why your heart called you into that to be open?
Mm. Yeah, that was kind of my second daughter who initiated me into that
Tell
field,
us,
or like
yes.
that energetic space or field or realm,
Yeah.
if we could call it that. When I got pregnant with my second daughter, I have received her energetically a few months before, but I was in a really, really challenging situation, both in myself and also in my relationship. So I went into like really deep meditation, and suddenly I just felt this being entering my whole system, and it was so intense, and it always feels like a bit like too much, like someone that really like went into my space. And I was like, I'm not ready for that. I don't know
Mm.
if I gave consent to it or not. So I actually conceived physically my second daughter like in a phase in my menstrual cycle where medically you would be told that this is not possible. This is
Interesting.
impossible.
Yeah.
You cannot conceive in that state in your menstrual cycle.
Wow.
So yeah, I was told that afterwards when I went to the doctor and said I'm pregnant. And then he was counting back and and I said, no, it's not Dev's there. And then it's like, yeah, no, it's not possible.
He's like, this is
But
not
they
real.
just
Are
want
you
to,
sure you're pregnant?
but they want to put another due date than was actually due date. And of course, and
Yeah.
not everybody knows, but I knew. Um, and yeah, it was really intense. And I knew it for a few months before I was actually ready to pee on the pin and see the two lines. But I
Mm,
knew it, like I was like, I know that I'm pregnant and she's
yeah.
there. And it was a whole different journey than in my first daughter. And it feels like she just came in like with such a fire that she just wanted me to transform my life. Literally,
Wow.
like her energy was so, and her name is Phoenix, or that her
Oh
second,
my
like her
gosh.
middle name.
Of
That was the
course.
energy. She came in with such a Phoenix energy that, like, I'm gonna burn everything down in your life that is not serving the
Oh my
highest good.
gosh. I
And
love
like,
that.
and the journey since she has arrived has been like crazy, like literally
I love
crazy
it.
in my life. So she came in, and I was like, I went through so deep dives in myself of like being super scared of having a second child and not being feeling ready, not in myself, not in my relationship. So I went into this, what is it called? I went to the doctor and said that I was considering a pregnancy release. And I
Mm,
wanted to get that opening up to that door and maybe get some resource, and maybe I should go to that scan. Even wrote that I'm always been really somehow in myself. It's not to predict anything on anyone else, but I have felt that it was wrong for me and it was not truth for me to go through ultrasound. But
mm.
I ended up going on that clinic on the hospital where they did an early ultrasound, and I went there, and that the whole journey into the field of pregnancy release literally opened up for me. Like I was there on the
Mm.
hospital, and it was mind blowing, scary, heart opening, everything at once. And it feels like a portal or door opened up for me. And at the same time, I saw, all these doctors around me, and I hadn't said yes to the pregnancy. It was just like going in and get a checkup. And I went out of there, and I remember like my partner at that time, and as I said before, we were in a challenging situation, and we also not together the day of today. And I said to him, you know, if I am going to have that pregnancy release, I will feel that will be like it is difficult for me to find the right word on it also in English, but
Mm,
it will feels like an abuse,
mm,
and it will feels like a grief that I wasn't sure about, that I never would be able to let go of. And it was
mm,
so strong in my system, like this is I cannot do this. Like it's it's impossible for me to go through this. And yeah, then I started to receive some memories that was really strong in my pregnancy. And in the first, I think it was in the second month of my pregnancy, I uh, I started to, when I had said yes to the child and said, "Okay, I'm gonna do this," I started to receive memories, and I felt so much grief in my whole system, and I didn't know where it came from. It was just so massive, uh, and yeah, it was really intense to navigating through. And then I went into, remember there was some of my friends, that's amazing friends that doing breath work. So I went into this breath work session with them, and I was like, oh, in the back, and then I'm pregnant. I'm just going through it very lightly. And
mhm,
but I feel somehow really drawn to go into that space. And it opened up a really, really strong memory from probably a previous life from me and the daughter that I have today, of a loss. And I remember that
mm,
I went into that burning room that I have been in many times when I go have been going deeper also trauma work with myself. I always ended up in that burning room, and I ended
mm,
up in that burning room again in that breath work session. But then suddenly I was outside of the house, and I realized that I stood there outside of the burning house with a dead baby in my arms.
mm,
And suddenly I went through, like, deep into that grief. Really, the grief just took me on a journey into,
mm,
like, I think never I've experienced such a level of grief before than going back to that state and that episode in a previous life. So it was first when I was able to literally really let go of her that the grief also let me, or
mm.
left my body and left my system. And then I had the most amazing and glorious and loving pregnancy after that.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't think I knew this story.
No, I don't think I told you the story.
That's
Yeah.
really deep. Yeah, because you're going back into a timeline of layers and going through re-experiencing or reshifting that reality and then coming here and seeing like that. Like I could really feel the energy of your story too, and the transformation of it. It's like you went from one layer of this, like you're on the steps and you went to this other step layer and you're just there, like, you know.
Yeah.
So
And what
tell
is
us more.
really
Yeah.
interesting, yeah, is that I'm still working on it with my daughter because it's still bit in her memory. So since she was one, she somehow have these attack where she suddenly fade, like literally suddenly fade.
Wow.
And then she's like unconscious for a
Huh.
few seconds. Sometimes the first time it was a whole minute, and I got so shocked in my whole system. And
Yeah.
then I called the ambulance, and we went there and to get a fully check up, like from top to toe, like
Yeah.
everything in her whole being, and there was no health issues
Of
at all, and
course.
she was completely fine. So,
Yeah.
after that, it was good for me to have that reinsurance. Okay, there's nothing physically. Okay, I can lean back into that.
Yeah.
So it escalated a lot when she was one,
Mm.
and there was a
Scary.
period. Yeah, it was a period where she literally sometimes could fade like every second day. And every time it happened, I went through the whole story again. I went through the whole story for these seconds, or sometimes, yeah, maybe 1 minute. I went through that whole re-experience of losing my child,
Wow.
literally in every
Whoa.
cell
Whoa.
of my
Okay.
body.
Yeah.
So it was really strong and really intense. And she have really brought me on a journey, that's for sure. A deep one, yeah.
So then did she heal through these kind of episodes that were, it sounds like very energetic, maybe in a time loop of some reality of trying to, it's interesting. I want to kind of spotlight something you said is that you're doing the right work of like, oh, look, we looked head to toe, we're looking at all the medical and there's nothing there. And I
Yeah,
think that gets very scary for parents looking at their
yeah,
children and going, because I know children are they're kind of like anomalies energetically because they are very much miracle cases in many ways in medical establishments because
mm,
they come from a different vibration, as we know, and they're in that space still, especially at 1 years old. But yeah, so then how did she evolve through them? Like, how
yeah.
did it become, was it like, did you work with healers? Are you just doing your own deeper work on yourself or?
So what I realized afterwards that and I want to tell my story first, and then I want to weave it into the work like related to pregnancy and birth loss. So what I found out later and later, and also due to my work and like the baby beings that I work with, and the collective field of baby beings and spirit baby that's coming in, is like this waves of souls that is coming in with specific purpose. So I actually call her soul group, what I have, because I have seen it many times now. I call her soul group like the Phoenix Rising generation. And some of them are coming into literally being born into the physical. But a
Mm.
lot of them, what I have experienced now, are coming into clearing out the womb space. So they're literally coming in to take garbage out, toxicities, densities, old grief. They're coming out to clear the space for the new frequency to like arrive in the womb space. And they very often coming in and are meant to be released in a pregnancy release, or are meant to being lost through like a miscarriage, because they're coming in as a shamanic energy,
Mm, mhm.
and to really clear out the darkness. And some of them are being born, right? And they are doing their work still here on the earth. So what she do, and I learned that by experience now. So I really have to be super conscious and not overprotective, but I have to be conscious around, especially the adults there is around her. And
Mm.
she can have, especially if there is an adult there is possessed. And we see that some people are possessed by beings and entities.
Yeah.
And that entity she can, because she's still developing her skills, and she's still like only 5 years
Wow.
old. So of course
Yeah.
they're like, so it sent me on a whole journey to actually learn about entities and learn about how to get these entities out of your system. And it's like it's deep work, and it's intense to go there, and it's even more intense to go there with your own child. So
Wow.
there has been periods where I see it and I feel it, and it's like, okay, oh my God. And I can now, I'm really sharp on seeing on a human being if they're like they're possessed. And it's not very often that I see that. It's not very often that I meet them, and I maybe it's not because I'm not attracting them that much, but I have experienced it one, and that was actually with a nanny that I
Oh,
hired to
wow.
take care of my daughter.
Yep.
And yeah, it was really hard for me to accept that afterwards. And I got a lot of like help for some really, really experienced and really trusted energy worker and healers that I know. And I they helped me, and it was important that we did it together to get that thing out of her system again.
That's such a
But I
big, I know that's a really deep, big conversation. And I know that there are a lot of entity energies everywhere, and people always freak out about that. I was like, if you only knew. Some are not super bad, some are, but people are not in that field. Like, I think many of us see that layer. And I know, like, I'm like you, is like, I don't want to do the entity work. I actually just was looking for referrals for it. I found in my medical intuitive organization group, there was like one person. Like it is a very specific work, like that to
yeah,
kind of go in, and there's an energy. And even when you talk about, your daughter and your energy. Like her energy is really powerful and unique in this
Mm,
world. Even though it's battling her, it's like maybe it hits her in a certain way, but it's like it's just to me it's like the new human is not going to tolerate these energies. Like in
no.
infiltrating the space. And I know our physical earth body can feel like, spinning or, faint. It's like, whoa, it's like to acclimate. And of course, she's so young and you are her protector, as you know. It's
Mm.
like, and now, how old is she now?
She's 5.
Wow. She's getting
Yeah.
there. Little Jedi is getting there.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, and it is so interesting because she's so much still in another dimension. Like my partner used to used to make fun of, like, you can turn her around 3 times and you don't know where she is.
I know my older son, there's a good joke too. He's a lot like me. Like we kind of go into daydreaming because we're
Mm.
literally just in and out of different energetic realities. And
Mhm.
now my husband gets to see like, oh gosh, it's both of them. And we do have to teach our children properly, like how to use their Jedi skills, like how to be an energy sensitive, how,
Yeah.
like if they're clairvoyant, clairsentient, telepathic, which is probably all of those things, and how to own that space too, how to be in your body presently in a way to meet their ages too.
Mm.
Because 5 is so young, and
Mm.
there's still a lot of attachment towards like mom and dad energies,
Mm.
like especially mom. And it was one of these doctors, what's his name? Dr. Jay Gordon once said, attachment parenting goes until age 6 years old. So you're like tethered energetically, physically, emotionally, and something after
Yeah.
6 begins to shift. And that's just a biological attachment idea. And I always thought, wow, that's really interesting. I feel like it goes on longer.
Mm.
I feel like 10, 11 is where you get to feel like that different separation of energy. And it's different for each kid for sure. It's some children have an emotional maturity, some are like need a little bit more time.
Yeah, and also just about sensitivity. Like I feel it with my partner. Like, it's like, wow, okay, we're so sensitive and open, both of us. So of course we, like, our nervous system, it absorb the
Mm.
others. Yeah, nervous system.
So then how does this then pour into the work you do, right? I know you work in different areas and um what, because that whole experience, that connection, change your perception. And this is probably why you're feeling like, oh, I want to work more in this space because it's not what we think it is. That's what it feels like. What you shared, it's like, and this is what I love about it. Like, you can't try to overthink it.
Mm.
That's what's really amazing about it. And I do feel like this pregnancy release, this spiritual, we'll say abortion, whatever or not, there's so much more to it than what this world has indoctrinated with religion, actually. And the abusiveness around that is like really intense. And that energy is energy. So I don't want to keep talking for you, but yeah, like what then maybe you can even share like what like someone's tuning into this and going, maybe they're in pre or post and they're like, how do I heal or I mean, I know that's like a big question. What would you do? Like how do you deal with
Yeah.
yourself initially, maybe?
Yeah. Yeah. So first of all, I feel like I not really chose to work with this. It more feels like it's just chose me. It chose me. It just came, it just came my way. It just chose me. But yeah, with the pregnancy release, what I often feel is that there's a lot of shame
Mm.
around that field, or even also just unconscious shame. And we are so indoctrinated, also just unconscious, with this is just a procedure that you're going into do, and then it's not there anymore, and then we don't have to take care of it, under the carpet. We can leave it over there. It's out of my body, it's out of my system. I can move on in life. And and also with client, I need to literally ask them, have you been going through a pregnancy release? And some of them have also forgotten it. It's like, oh, then maybe the next time I see them in a session, they say, "Oh yeah, I remember I actually had a pregnancy release when I was 19 or when I was 22 or something," because it's it's a very traumatic event. It can be a very traumatic event. Not maybe it cannot feels like it. Maybe it's just, yeah, you go and you took this pill and then it's you had some belly ache and it's hurting a bit and then it was kind of out of your body and then you didn't really thought so much about that anymore. Mm. And I think many women go through life in that way, but
I
it's still
appreciate you
there.
saying that. I really, that's,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, but it's still there, and we can see now from medical researches like the cells of that baby, that conception is still in your womb, and doesn't matter if you take it out, it's still there. And what is in the cells is information. And it's really important that we see it as information to your body because they are also placed there for a reason. They came into your body for a reason. And I really so deeply feel that they're coming in to initiate and activate us. And as I just said before, like some baby beings are coming in with this shamanic energy to literally just take something out of the room. And I also sometimes see that these baby beings that are meant to be released or that through like an abortion or miscarriage, they are also coming into awakening the mother or the parent and say, okay, I'm here and now I'm awakening this inside of you so you can do the work that is needed to be done so you can be ready to consciously invite me into your life. So that's the two main reason I see why this is happening. And then we can see sometimes, yeah, women are getting pregnant all the time, and sometimes it's conscious and sometimes it's not conscious and sometimes it's coming through abuse. And this is still because there is an information in the body of the woman that have to be awakened. There is something there. And I think what's going on sometimes when we just put that experience away, that we forgot to honoring the sacredness, that we forgot to honoring the gift that we actually received. And it's not just something we have to get rid of. It's actually a gift. It's actually an activation, and we have to actually to be
Wow.
really grateful and really humble for receiving that gift.
Wow. Yeah.
And
That's, yeah.
yeah, and when I work with women, either before I have worked with some women that comes to me and said, "Oh, I'm pregnant," and I have decided, and then they make a conscious decision. I've decided to go through this pregnancy release, but I really feel deeply that I want to do it with love, and I want to do it
Mm.
with really honoring the soul that have chosen to come into my life. Almost getting goosebumps just sharing it because it feels so intimate and so deep, and it's almost like when you're on a hospice and you have to help a human being letting go and going into the death process. It's a bit like this, and really honoring that soul and that light and that potential of a life. So it's usually actually very beautiful to go there in that space and to allow that release to happen in such a loving way, and really allowing the woman to receive the gifts, the information, the messages, and the love.
Such a different experience that we get to bring forward in this because we always hear the opposite of all this
Mm.
negative intensity and psychological torment really and trauma. But it sounds like I know you're trauma therapy trained, so it's like you know how to really get there to those spaces with people in gentle and delicate ways. And I know because many women come and they're frantic. Do you ever notice like that immediate franticness after post? It's like there's such distortion or confusion and I feel like what you're saying is like you're really trying to even integrate a stronger field in the earth around what
Mm.
does it mean to release pregnancy? And there's a death aspect to that, of course, and that's what we're not minimizing. Is like there's death, and then there's transformation and how to hold the love. It sounds like a lot of which probably I would say most women are probably like, no, what are you talking about, right? Like I'm in this suffering, I'm in this torment. And something you said before, which I think is really important to share too, is that it's trauma no matter what. Like it's trauma. Like, and that's how that works. It's, even if it's conscious or unconscious, it's like, but trauma is healable, right? I'd like to believe it is, and that we overcome and move through. So I want to ask you now, what about, so how would you encourage someone with spirit baby communication if if they've had this loss and maybe they're in an okay-ish place or maybe they're in a really deep space of suffering? What would be some kind of maybe some tip or thought that you've seen or you've like helped others in?
Yeah. So I it's super important to go to that place if you are on your conception journey. Because as I just said before, the information, the cell, it's still in your womb space. And what happened when and that's goes both for pregnancy, release, and a miscarriage. It's still there. And it's infused with the grief, with the shame, with the fear, with the abuse feeling. It's also there in the trauma that is stored within your womb space, whether you're conscious or unconscious about it. So why it is so important to start the whole healing process? It's because when the soul then are coming into your womb and started to develop the human body, that grief, that unprocessed shame, all of that, it goes into the structure of the
Mm,
bones. It goes into the physical development of that the human being. And I experienced it myself, and maybe I can share my own story as well, because I also work with returning, traveling back to your own birth, the own time you had in your mom's womb, and the
mm,
moment and beyond your own conception, because it's have an imprint, and
mm.
it's have an imprint on the way we conceive, and the way we opening ourselves, and the way we are pregnant, and the way we are giving birth to our children. It's all also these memories lines. It's there and they're getting activated. So if you yourself, maybe I can also share here that my mom, she had a miscarriage 8 years before I was conceived. And by traveling back really intentionally and really deep, I remembered it. And I remembered it before my mom even have told me about it. I remember there was like a deeper grief in my bones, in my structure of my humanness. So I went to her and talked with her about it, and then she started to share the story. So our cells remember it, and that's the thing, that we can have a tendency to, especially if we're super sensitive, to take things in that is not ours, or that is, yeah, something from our lineage that are being put on us, or something from the collective field or in our environment. So of course, as we just said, you're so open as a baby. If you're a soul
Oh,
coming into the womb, you
yeah.
absorb everything. You absorb everything. And we can also see that, like in science and in researches, right? That the sound that you're hearing, the environment, the toxicities, if you're around, if the mom is drinking alcohol or smoking, or just the environment, loud music, the baby takes
Mm.
everything in. So of course it's also taking in what is there unprocessed in the womb space. And this is why this is really important work to do before conception.
I love that you shared that because it took me a long time to get to a level where I was looking at my own birth. It was like I was terrified of it. And I think, or I know a lot of people are just like I was like 20 years ago, 22 years ago, I was very unconscious to it. And I remember like not knowing that I was unconscious to it. Do you know what I mean? Like I was like, oh, birth, whatever. I don't want to look at that. Which is why I took somatic psychology over pre and perinatal psychology. And then like fast forward later, it's like there's so many layers and I love that you do that because I don't think a lot of healers and therapists and counselors they don't address that because it may not be in their consciousness or field to go there. And I know in more private reading spaces, I do see people's like birth stories and we question it. And I actually have seen where there was even pregnancy release in the family and then there was a loss. And it's like all, and I'm not saying that for everybody. I got to be conscious of what I'm saying because everybody, it's such a unique experience. Like, and the interlinking between that, because I've often questioned, I do work with a lot of miscarriage, but I have not had that in my body. I suspect, here's my theory, I suspect I was actually miscarried. And where's my evidence? My mom had six miscarriages before my brother. And she told me about a daughter she had. And I was like, huh. And then when she had my older brother, after that they told her 'cause she had infertility, and this is in the 70s. They said you'll never have children ever again. It's impossible. You have a heart-shaped uterus. You've have all these problems. And then I came. Like, oh, that's interesting. And then my little brother came 8 years later. So it was like interesting that she was told all these things, but I know those stories, yeah, they play out into like, and I love that you talk about the bones and it's like in your body, it's the imprint. And I know I encourage people to look at their birth story if they even allow themselves to, right? I mean, that's the piece. But it's nice that you get to have validation. Sometimes we don't have that validation of go asking, and other times we just have to trust, right? You would say, like, what do we do? Then it's like, oh, um, moving forward and then like, okay, I'm ready to conceive or I'm ready to, create a family and then you may or may not know that story.
Mm. True, yeah. And it's also depends, of course, depends how deep you want to go. Like I
Yeah, that's true.
I like some conception, like I feel it, it's such a huge, deep work. It's like for me, it's like it's where we all come from. It's the seed of everything. It's
Mm.
conception. And that's why it's so deep. And I feel that until now we have only looked at the beginning of the iceberg. Like there's so much
Mm.
down there. There's so much down there that we have to look at. And also I also want to say that if you have had a miscarriage or a pregnancy release and you afterwards have had a pregnancy and you now have a child, I really don't want to put into anyone's minds that they have done anything wrong, because it's never too late. It's never too late. What I did with my daughter afterwards, because I went to that abortion clinic. So what I did with my daughter afterwards was really to put a lot of attention into the moment just before she fall asleep. Just let her know how much I loved her and how much I wanted to be with her and how much I loved to be her mother, and really like saying these things into her unconscious mind just before she dropped into sleep, just to reassurance her that she's so welcome and that I love her with my whole heart. And this is just these small practices that you can always do with your children. You
And
can
do you
always
feel you can
help.
do this? Sorry, do you feel that you can do this if you've had a pregnancy release still? Like, is that different?
If I had it and then had a child afterwards, yeah,
Oh,
I
I
think we
see.
can
Yeah.
always, yeah, we can always tell them. Like we can always
Yeah.
tell them, or if we had a miscarriage and then afterwards, and then we are afraid, as
Yeah.
what I just told you, right? And we're
Yeah.
afraid that we put trauma into their development of their bones, right? We can always tell them, like, I know you might feel something, you might tap into
Mm.
something, and that's a gift, but it's not always yours. And I promise you that I will take care of what is mine, and I will do the work. And we're also here to do the work together, right? Our children is not coming here to have a perfect mom or a perfect dad. They're coming here to wake us up. So they
So,
know
yeah.
that we're gonna, sorry, fuck off a bit.
You can say that here.
We're gonna fuck up. Like, we're gonna
Yeah.
do that because we meant to do that.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing all that. And I want just any final love words you can share to everybody that is going through pregnancy release pre or post, and also just ways that people can find you.
Yeah. So with pregnancy release, I really feel like bring the awareness and the love into it, and don't be afraid of connecting with the soul that actually have chosen to land in your womb space. See it as a birth. And if you consciously feel that this is not the moment, and I truly trust women, and I'm not against pregnancy release at all, and I'm also not pro it. It's just a fact that some women feel that this is not the moment. And I trust women in that way. And if they take a conscious decision, it's also like acknowledging you are now a mom, you are now a mother, and the pregnancy release is a birth, and honor that rite of passage. Honor it, like make a ritual if you're into that. Honor that rite of passage and really take care of your space afterwards. Protect your space, because you are as open as a woman who have just given birth to a child.
Mm.
Protect your space. Take your time to recover. Yeah.
Thank you for that love poetry at the end here. But I want to, like, yeah, how can people find you? What is the best way for them to find you?
Yeah, I think it's on my webpage, or on my social media. So my webpage is Sofia Atiya, and I guess you will write it down below. .com, and it's in English, all of it, so it's international. And on my social media, on my Instagram, it's Sofia underscore Ayla underscore Ataya. And on my Facebook, that is Sofia Ayla Ataya.
And you have a YouTube, I just realized.
I have a YouTube channel as well. I have a podcast, and it's called Birthing a New Humanity.
And I'm subscribing right now.
Great, amazing.
Perfect. Well,
Yeah.
thank you
And
again, Sophia. Yeah.
on the channel there is both English speaking international, and there is also some in Danish. So of course there will be something there is a bit limited to the Danish speakers.
Maybe I can brush up on my Danish. Energy's energy, right?
Yeah, true. Mm.
Well, thank you so much for being here, Sophia.
Thank you so much. It's been really lovely.
I want to thank everybody for joining Spirit Baby Radio, Compassionate Conversations, and thank you so much for joining. Thank you for joining Spirit Baby Radio with your host, me, Kelly Meehan. Please join my community and stay in touch with monthly energy rants, Spirit Baby poetry, and get access to Spirit Baby 101 with tips and practices at my newsletter at newearthchildren.com. And join me on Instagram with lives at Spirit Baby Medium, and join the Mighty Networks, the Spirit Baby Collective membership, and Motherhood to Mediumship. Remember, you are the heart that holds communication, and it is your time to connect. Come share in the great shift of your mind and the true spirit of your heart with Spirit Baby Communication.